Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 12th and final round.
Right hand, Golovkin steps in and down he goes again. Unbelievable. Mayweather makes him pay. What a rookie mistake. A sensational left hook by De La Hoya.
It's facts. I'm the best. You know what I mean? Sometimes I don't want to believe it myself, but it's the truth. I'm the best. I'm going to show you how great I am.
From Southern California, this is the Last Round Podcast.
Number 87 of the Last Round Podcast. Welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for listening once again, whether you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Radio Republic, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Boxing Social YouTube, wherever you're at. We appreciate it once again. If you're jumping on right now to listen to the Tommy Ward interview that was there's obviously in the title is why some of you probably most likely clicked. That will be towards the latter half of this podcast. So if you don't want to hear Mike and I talk, you're more than welcome to just fast forward us and get to that Tommy Ward interview. Mike was able to record an interview with him just before we recorded this part of the audio. But a disclaimer, there was some audio issues, right, Mike?
Yeah, there's some audio issues, kind of. The audio goes in and out a little bit, and then at the end, when I ask him about training alongside Joseph Laws, we do lose him. I think Tommy was outside using his cell phone for the interview, so it wasn't kind of the best connection. But there's a good solid 20 minutes in there that you can listen to.
Awesome. Well, as long as we still got some good audio content there, obviously we appreciate that, and then thank you to Mr. Tommy Ward for jumping on with Mike earlier today. But this is a rarity, at least in the last couple months. It's just me and you, even though we do have a guest this week again. This part of the audio is just me and you, Mike. How come?
Old school.
It's old school, man. It's like we're coming up on 2 years doing this show. Is it 2 years? Isn't it 2 years this month or next month?
So it was either the end of August or September, just before the Canelo fight.
Oh, that's right. So like around August, September. So we're coming up on 2 years. At the beginning of the when we started the show, it was just me and you for a while. We had to build ourselves up. We had to build our reputation in order to attract guests, and I think we're doing all right so far. What do you think?
Yeah, not too bad. Obviously, it's boxers want to promote themselves. They're all self commodities. So it's kind of not the hardest to get some guests on. Obviously, some, are kind of harder to get a hold of because of the amount of followers they have and the PR teams they sit behind. But, boxing is very different compared to other sports. And in that essence, I'm sure you probably couldn't get a major league baseball star or a soccer star, to do a podcast because you couldn't get a hold of them.
Well, of course, with that attitude, Mike, we can't get them. Of course, you got to change that attitude. But let's before we we get into the Tommy Ward interview, where we want to touch on some topics that are currently happening in the world of boxing. One of them that we did want to touch on, we want to start with is, Robert Garcia has that new YouTube show that he's been doing pretty much out of his gym, right, Mike? I think, I don't know what it's called. Is it just the Robert Garcia show, or what do they call it? Yeah,
something along the lines of that, yeah.
So something like that. They just started it within the last couple weeks. I don't know how often they release it, but they film it. They got some editing behind it. It's pretty cool. Robert Garcia obviously has a lot of years in the game, so he has a lot of knowledge behind it. But what we wanted to touch on, obviously one of his fighters just captured his first world title in Joshua Franco, just defeated Andrew Maloney, right? In Vegas on one of the latest Top Rank cards, which, by the way, Top Rank, we just talked about this right before we started recording. Top Rank is like way ahead of the curve in terms of all the other major promoters and putting out shows. They're way ahead of the curve. And, we talked about, I guess we'll touch on it a little later, but all the other promoters haven't put on anything, and they're like already almost to 10. So, Robert Garcia, his fighter Joshua Franco, just captured his first major world title. I believe, wasn't it the WBA, Mike?
WBA, yeah.
Right. And I think it was a split decision?
It was a split decision. I think he got the knockdown in the 12th round, which kind of sealed the victory for him.
Right. So if he didn't get the knockdown in that Was it the 11th or 12th round?
11th or 12th, yeah. I can't remember exactly.
It was one of the championship rounds. If he did not get that knockdown, I think, if I remember correctly, the fight would have been a draw.
Mm.
The fight would have been a draw. So, I mean, Franco got so lucky he was able, or, is it lucky or is it just, talent, obviously? But, I guess it's a little bit of both, that he was able to find that opening to get that knockdown, because that's what won him the fight, from a mathematical standpoint. But what the issue is that just after that fight, I remember seeing on Twitter, on boxing Twitter, you know how boxing Twitter is, Mike. We get the trolls. We see the trolls. We know the trolls in the boxing hemisphere. But I remember reading people tweeting that Robert Garcia, as the judges were tallying up the scores, that a top-ranked official, and I don't know if this is correct or not, but some people on Twitter were saying that it was Carl Moretti, who's, I believe, second in command at Top Rank, I believe, or he's vice president of, I think, operations or something like that. Don't quote me on the exact title, but he's obviously one of the high executives over there at Top Rank. But Robert Garcia said that a Top Rank official, and some people online were saying it was Carl Moretti, was over there at with the commissioner's table, pretty much talking to them just before the scores were being announced. And Robert Garcia was yelling at him, don't do it, pretty much insinuating, don't take the fight away from his fighter, Franco, and then Robert Garcia, I think within the last couple of days on his YouTube show that he just created, somebody had asked him about that, and he talked about it. He didn't name this person specifically, but he said it was a top rank official. He didn't want to throw them under the bus. And he pretty much elaborated completely about that happening. I mean, what was your take on the whole situation, Mike?
It's called Robert Garcia Unfiltered.
Oh, is that what the show's called?
Yeah, I just looked it up, yeah.
Oh, okay, well, that's definitely unfiltered. I mean, what'd you think about that whole situation?
I thought it was kind of, an odd situation to me. I feel that, when the scores are getting tallied and handed in, that there really should be nobody around them. There shouldn't be anybody kind of putting pressure on anybody leaning over people's shoulders. It should just be the judges together. They just had, come to the conclusion of who've won, pass it to the referee. It shouldn't be looked at. It shouldn't be anybody from Top Rank. Shouldn't be anybody from any other promotion, Matchroom, PBC, or anybody putting pressure on them, to either go one way or the other. So, I thought it was quite open of Robert to actually come out and say that. He didn't name names, but, kind of open because, a lot of people, you do get some odd scorecards. There is the odd, the boxing was kind of run by the mafia back in the day. So there are the old stories of, corruption. I don't think it's probably as bad as it was, if at all now, but, there's some underhand things you do hear going on in the boxing community.
I think every boxing fan, especially the hardcore fans, to an extent, maybe the casual fan, but especially the hardcore fans who have been fans of the sport for years, know that there's some type of corruption. And, maybe corruption might be a strong word. Who knows? But there's types of shady dealings behind the scenes. I think everybody knows that. And over the years, there's been prominent fighters or prominent personalities in the sport who have came out and said something, whether it's against the sanctioning bodies or against promoters, kind of breaking that fourth wall in terms of behind the scenes, this is, I think everybody in terms of boxing fans know that something happens behind the scenes. But at least to my knowledge, I don't think anybody of Robert Garcia's stature, at least within the last couple of years or so, anybody of his notable stature has pretty much brought that out and pretty much confirmed, because he was talking about it like it wasn't surprising to him, especially when he pretty much yelled out right before they announced the scores, don't do it, don't do it to us, don't do it to us. It's like he knew, here we go again. No, I'm gonna say something. It's like he knows, obviously, being in the game for so long. It's like, with the years of experience that he has, how many times do you think he's been he's seen this in front of him or he's heard about this? What do you think?
Yeah, you do hear about it. I remember, I think it was Teddy Atlas talked about on a podcast one time. I think it was with Joe Rogan when he was talking about that when you go to the event, say if it's a Golden Boy event or a Top Rank event, that, Oscar De La Hoya or Bob Arum they'll take out all the referees, all the judges for kind of like a slap up meal, spend a lot of money, wine and dine them, kind of drill it into them like, hey, like you're here kind of on behalf of Golden Boy and, we kind of want some of that home cooking. Teddy Atlas has touched on that before, and I won't name names, but I remember being in a gym one time where coaches said that they'd have like little things said to them, kind of, a judge or like a referee would walk past and they'd be chatting to the coach, like, hey, like my kid could do with a PlayStation for Christmas, not literally asking them to buy it for them, but, in so many words, kind of, dropping hints that like, hey, if you buy that, then, your gym might do quite well this year. So
no, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's like insinuating certain things without really kind of throwing it out there, at least in the public eye. I mean, I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. I like it, kind of going back to the notion that every hardcore boxing fan, kind of knows there's stuff behind the scenes, especially with there being individual separate sanctioning bodies, major world title bodies in the sport, WBA, WBO, WBC, IBF. It's like beating the drum all over again, repetitively. Like each one of them essentially technically has an association with one promoter or the other. WBO is essentially associated with Top Rank a lot. WBA is associated with PBC, right?
Yeah, and Matchroom.
WBO is also associated with Frank Warren a lot. WBC is, what would you
Mexican fighters?
Mexican fighters, I guess. Yeah. I mean, like it's not, we're not out here to like, we're not saying stuff like this to like slander or anything. It's just like, that's what you see.
It's not hidden.
It's not hidden.
No.
It's not like it's like what we see. And like I think we've been in the game long enough, especially going to as many events as we've had over the years where we've seen it, like it happens, like people can deny it as much as they want that it doesn't happen, but it happens, like that's why, is Dana White right that if he does enter into boxing and wants to start like his own promotion and platform, is he right not to use any of the sanctioning bodies and he just wants to create his own titles like he has for the UFC? Like, is he right in that regard? I don't know. I think I look forward to when he does jump in. If he does jump in, obviously he keeps delaying it, and it's probably going to be a while. We probably won't hear anything about it until sometime next year. But that's just an interesting concept to see what happens, because it kind of goes back to the whole money issue. Remember when Cotto was supposed to fight when he fought Canelo, and he was supposed to put his WBC title on the line or something like that, and reportedly the WBC wanted like $300,000 or something like the fee. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it's like 9%, right, of the purse, I think. Something like that.
And Cotto told him he wasn't going to pay that, and I don't know. I guess the negotiation didn't work. I don't know what happened, but Cotto just pretty much said like, "Nope, I'm not going to do it." Like, I don't think there was a belt on the line in that fight. I think they just fought, right?
I believe so. Yeah, I think he actually dropped the WBC because of that.
So, I mean, like I said, it happens, and Robert Garcia kind of putting it out there, especially recently, is a big deal. Whether people believe it or not, it is a big deal. But how are you going to combat that? What at least from your opinion, Mike, watching the sport for as long as you've had, and then obviously being a part of the media as you have, like, is there any potential solutions to something like that? Like, how would you fix or at least try to elevate something like that?
You should really have them, either away from, the promotional team, so people can't just walk over to them. I know the WBC recently has started doing the electronic scoring from away from ringside, where they had, I think, a 7 electronic scorers who used to just watch it like either from home or from the back. Electronic scoring where it's not handwritten and it can be changed, you know, anything like that. So something where pressure can't be put onto referees and judges to, you know, change a score or anything like that. But then again, obviously beforehand, you've got the A side and B side, and you know the judges and the referees know going into a fight, hey, this is the A side, this is the home fighter, this is the guy that's going to pay the bills, and hey, if you come up with the wrong score that we won't like, you won't be getting picked.
Right. I mean, you would think that, like, at least with commission or something, like you would think that, like, because a government entity, a government agency is essentially involved in regulating your sport and regulating your event, pretty much sanctioning your event. Like, if something comes up, like where they're kind of trying to go bribe or they're trying to go like influence or whatever, like a government official, like, I mean, what did you think? Isn't there consequences for something like that? Like, is there anything on the books, at least here in California, in terms of from any legal standpoint?
You would have thought so. You know, like you said, they're a state official, so you would have thought there'd be some kind of corruption in sports, corruption, because at the end of the day, it's for money.
Right.
You know, so you're affecting someone's paycheck because you're affecting the winner and the loser. So
right.
I would imagine there'd be something along the lines, but I don't know why they don't have younger officials. They always seem to be the same batch. Like, how many years have we seen Adelaide Bird? You know, how many years have we seen, you know, Robert Bird?
Right.
You know, Jack Reese is still good at, you know, he's at his age still, but, you know, how many years have we seen the same faces over and over again? Why do they not have like 30, 40-year-old people whose, you know, eyesight is slightly better and they may know the game a little bit better? So why don't they have like a feeder system that like they have in, you know, soccer refereeing, like, which I used to do in the UK? There's an element of where you're coming up, this progress. You know, you start at like a low level and you work your way up and eventually you reach the top if you're good enough. You know, why don't they have that?
Right. No, I agree. I mean, you know, I guess it's just kind of like you mentioned, Jack Reese and all those guys. And then in Vegas, you got Kenny Bayless and all those guys. You know, those are your top guys, the veteran guys who, you know, you trust to do the big fights. They can handle themselves in the big fights. So you go to your star players. I mean, it's just like sports, you know, like you go to your star player to kind of pull it through to win you the game in a sense, to use that analogy. I mean, that's what happens, you know, that's what happens. But you're right, though. I think in you know, as they retire, who was that? Was it Pat Russell? Pat Russell, remember he was the one who did the Vargas Bradley fight in StubHub out here in Carson. And remember he stopped the fight because he thought the clapper was the bell, and then Vargas thought he won. He thought he stopped the fight in his favor, but he had like 10 seconds left, and then at the end he said, "I thought the clapper was the bell." You know, like, and at that point Bradley, who knows, Vargas maybe could have stopped him in those 10 seconds because Bradley was, you know, his equilibrium was off the charts. But I mean, who knows? And I think Pat Russell, that referee over here in California, I think he retired after that, or I think he wasn't a referee after that. I think that was his last fight.
No, I think you're right, yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I guess kind of going back to the original topic, like, you know, Robert Garcia kind of pretty much shedding a light, and like somebody of his, I think that's a big deal. Somebody of his stature in the boxing game, like a reputable trainer who's trained world champions, continues to train world champions, continues to train guys to get to their first world championship, like Joshua Franco, and him pretty much throwing it out there and addressing it and confirming it, at least that instance. I think that's huge. That's a big deal. And but I think like it's a topic right now, but eventually it's just gonna kind of fall by the wayside because it is prevalent and people are just like, well, what are we supposed to do about it? You know, there's nothing really you can do to regulate something like that.
I think the problem is he said it, but at the end of the day, the score was right.
Right.
You know, like he did raise it, but it didn't happen. I think that's one thing we need to kind of get across as well and Joshua Franco, in my opinion, was the underdog, and he still did get the right result on the night. I mean, I thought it was a shock result. I thought Maloney was going to be the favorite coming in. Franco was a stand-in late replacement, maybe had a week Was it maybe something like that?
Well, I remember we were texting about that when Franco got announced as a substitution to fight Maloney, and I had told you, I was just, I'm telling you, man, Franco's gonna give him a fight, and you thought like, no, well, Maloney's a champion, and it wasn't that I was doubting Maloney. I just thought that, like, because Franco has been training with Robert Garcia for so long, he's been a part of that camp, and they have world champions in there. They spar guys bigger than themselves all the time, and I mean, I don't think it's no secret that you get really good work at the Garcia boxing gym over here in Riverside, California. Regardless if he was a late substitution or not, he was obviously still training consistently and keep staying in shape. So that's why I told you, I was just like, don't be surprised, man. Like, Franco, he could pull it off, and he pulled it off. But I mean, there's going to be a rematch now. So, like, if Maloney wins, is it a trilogy, or is Top Rank going to try to stay away from that?
Another Joshua Franco trilogy? Because he had a trilogy with Negrete.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, hey, if he's producing those types of fights, I mean, he's obviously fun to watch,
I just thought going into the fight, his body of work, 2 draws and a win against Negrete, and then he also had that loss over in where was it? It was when they fought. Golden Boy did a card in was it Puerto Rico or somewhere?
Was it? That's a while ago.
And he got stopped on his feet. It was kind of like an early stoppage. He was kind of like out on his feet, and the referee kind of jumped in. But everyone kind of said it was a little bit early. He should have maybe have taken a few more shots. But I was wrong. At the end of the day, you were right. Styles make fights. He managed to hurt Maloney early on, perforate his eardrum, and jumped on it. Took the chances, and he's a local fighter. So I always want the local guys to do well. He's obviously based in San Antonio, but fights out of Riverside with Robert Garcia. So.
I just think that, like, those 3 fights that he had with Oscar Negrete, because like you said, Oscar Negrete was the original opponent, but then I think he had an injury. I'm not sure what happened, but he wasn't able to take the fight. But I think even Oscar Negrete, whether it was him or Franco being in the ring with Maloney, I think would have gave him a fight, either or.
Especially Negrete, because he's just very Mexican style, hasn't he? Even though he's Colombian, he has that come forward style.
I think the 3 fights that they each had with each other, Negrete and Franco, really polished them as much as they can. Like, it really took them into deep waters and made them fight, and really made both of them. They made them each a better fighter. So that's why, if Franco didn't have that trilogy with Negrete before this fight, and he would have got this fight, I probably would have went with Maloney and agreed with him. But like, yeah, you know what? I still would have gave Franco the benefit of the doubt. But like, you know what? He's a wild card. Like, he's a Garcia trained fighter. But because of that trilogy with Negrete, I was just like, you know what? I think he's gonna take it, man. Those three wars he had with Negrete, like, that really sharpened him up, and it worked out. But it's not like Maloney like got run over. Like, he did put up a fight. It was a good fight. But, and I'm just glad there's going to be a rematch, because obviously they're both going to be hungry now I think the rematch is going to be even better than the first one.
I think so. It'd be good to see. Obviously Maloney ended up with a lot of injuries, so he'll probably have a little bit of a layoff before he comes back. And look at Joshua Franco, 24 years old, and he's a world champion. So
that's crazy, man.
Congrats to him.
Yeah. Hey, man, Golden Boy, the last several months or so, like, they went from having, like, pretty much not Canelo as the only world champion in their stable to now having Joseph Diaz, Joshua Franco, Canelo,
Teixeira,
Patrick Teixeira,
his brother.
Who's his brother again?
They signed his brother, didn't they? Isn't there 2 of them, and they're both champs?
Are they both champs? Or his brother's a champ too? Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I think so.
I mean, do you want to count
Ronnie Rios?
Do you want to count Jaime Munguia? Technically,
Ronnie Rios with the gold.
Ronnie Rios with the gold, yeah. I mean, that counts. I mean, that's even though it's another random title, but I think that counts for something. They kind of really rebounded in the world championship aspect, and That just goes to show you that in a couple months span, it just can kind of switch. But, whatever. I just thought that was an interesting topic that we should touch on. And then obviously we're going to touch on your favorite or mine, the big baby, Jarrell Miller, popping again. And I just got one question, Mike. Just one question for you and our listeners. Are you surprised?
No.
Whoa.
Not
Why
surprised at all. Obviously he popped during his kickboxing years. He popped with, Anthony Joshua. I was just surprised that he was stupid enough to do it because, once you've been caught, that when you come back, you're going to be under the limelight, a lot more than you were before. And, he came back with Top Rank and he had, I think it was 6-figure paydays lined up, but they probably would have maneuvered him into a title shot later down the line. And he threw that away again because he couldn't stay away. And, I was kind of intrigued today to watch, Rob Tebbett, our boy from the Boxing Social, did a great interview with Mauricio Suleiman. And he was talking about that subject. And Mauricio Suleiman stated that he tried to get Big Baby to sign up to the WBC clean boxing program. He refused.
Wow.
He wouldn't do it.
Wow. That's crazy, man. That's fat.
Muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Sorry, we had some technical difficulties right there. And I think we are back now. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. It's a stupid mic. Okay, now we're back. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen. This is what we have to deal with as we're trying to adapt to the quarantine COVID podcasting world. But
if anybody wants to listen to that interview, it's on Boxing Social's YouTube page. It came out today. They go over, the franchise titles, and Rob Tebbett kind of puts Mauricio Suleiman on the back foot with some tricky questions. So,
do you think that that's good though? That's good that he puts him, kind of gives him those hard hitting questions. But I also got to give it to Mauricio Suleiman because for even going on, because I mean it's not hard to look at Boxing Social's interviewers, their team, especially Rob Tebbett, who he did this interview, right?
Yeah, he did it, yeah.
It's not hard to go and see their past body of work and see that they don't throw you softball questions. They throw you some pretty good questions that's going to make you think. So, credit to the president of WBC, Mauricio Suleiman, for at least jumping on there with them because I'm sure he knew that he wasn't going to get softball questions. So he did it, man. He did it. So, but like you said, people want to check that out. Go on Boxing Social's YouTube page. But do you think that Miller? Do you think he was cycling off, or he was because of this pandemic? He thought, "Oh, I can get on it right now, and by the time I have to take the test, it won't pop up because he thought, oh, this pandemic, nothing's going to happen for months." Do you think he took it okay? Let's just say lockdown started, and it did in pretty much the whole world, technically in March of this year. Do you think in March he was just oh, boom?
Yeah, without a doubt. I'm sure he had a kind of a time frame with Top Rank that he thought, June, July, August, that he would be back in the ring. And I'm sure he, started using and probably thought that either, his tests weren't going to be till later in the year, or maybe the people that kind of write his cycle for him, thought that he would be, it would have been out of his system. And maybe he got a surprise test he didn't expect. Maybe they just timed it completely wrong. Something along those lines. But, when he's such a big guy, it kind of all makes sense. We always used to wonder, someone 300 plus pounds, how is he throwing either the most or he was the top 3 for punches thrown? That weight. It was just, we obviously just at the time were thinking he was some kind of genetic freak, but,
the genetic freak. That should have been his nickname instead of Big Baby.
Well, remember Wilder called it. Wilder called it years ago. He did an interview when he was driving somewhere and somebody was filming him on an Instagram Live or something like that, and he called it. He said, "He's like, I know that he's cheating," and he was right.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy. I wonder I wonder what, because I was reading the Top Rank before they actually signed him. Obviously, they got a lot of criticism for it, but I read that a lot of people in Top Rank, like, they were kind of divided on signing him. Some of them didn't want to give him the chance because of his past history, and the other half wanted to give them the chance. But when they signed him, it was conveniently because they had just signed Tyson Fury, and then they had Pulev, so they were trying to stack their heavyweight division to compete with the other promoters like Matchroom and stuff, Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, or PBC. Obviously, it was smart for Top Rank to try to pick up these heavyweights. They struck a deal with Tyson Fury, Pulev, and Miller's out there, so they're just like, well, we need some type of name. Even though he's a cheater, we still need something, But I was reading that reportedly that a lot of people in Top Rank were divided on signing him. Imagine that when that news broke that he popped again. Imagine what those employees within Top Rank who were against it from the beginning. Imagine, them texting or calling the people who were for, like, what did I tell you? What a waste of time. I could just imagine that.
Yeah, it's the business decision for the people that wanted him there. It's one of those ones where, like the Floyd Mayweather thing, where people are either for him and they want to watch him or they want to see him get beat. So, I'm sure there was plenty of people that, had Jarrell Miller just kind of like painted as a villain, and they were kind of, they would pay to see him hopefully lose to one of the big guys, your Wilders or Joshua's, Tyson Fury later down the line. But like you said, they were stacking their cards, and, essentially he was still a name. So yeah, he would have been, a good opponent for Tyson Fury down the line, because, at the time he was unbeaten, larger than life character. He's good on the mic. So he kind of is, promotionally someone very good to sign, because I've met him. I met him quite a few times, and that's why I kind of had the feeling he was going to sign for Top Rank, because when I went to the Tyson Fury fights in Vegas, he was there.
He was there, that's right. Yeah.
When I was at the Cosmopolitan for the Valdez fight and Carl Frampton, the Valdez and Adam Lopez, he was there. He was there then. So you could see he was going to sign for Top Rank because he was at all their events.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy. But, I guess that you kind of have to take risks in anywhere in life, especially in boxing, And so I think, Top Rank obviously knew that signing him, they were going to get criticism, but, it backfired on them,
Will he fight again? Will he box again? I'll narrow it down to boxing, because, he could end up in kickboxing, and I think he'll be in the WWE as a villain.
What? No, he doesn't have. I don't think he has the name or the clout to be in WWE. I doubt it.
300 pounds though, and he's good on the mic.
WWE would get, that's too much bad PR for them, and I don't know. It's a crazy thing have happened.
No such thing as bad PR. Remember that old saying.
Let me give you an analogy here. You're saying, will he box again? Will somebody give him a chance again? That's the same question that people ask about Chavez Jr. What's the difference?
Did you mean Chavez Jr. for popping, or do you mean just Chavez Jr.
No,
just for...
I'm just saying in general. Obviously, Chavez Jr.'s never popped, at least from, that we know of or anything. And it's just more like, okay, compare both situations. Chavez Jr., because of his reputation, his behavior, especially with the fight he had with Danny Jacobs last December, and then you got Jarrell Big Baby Miller. I'm just talking about in terms of like a general public opinion, a sentiment, how people say like, oh, they shouldn't give him another chance. Should give him another chance. It's both. It's in that regard. It's the same whether people want to believe it or not. Like, they shouldn't give these people another chance. But what's the difference in your opinion?
Chavez Jr. has the name. He has that legion of fans because of his father, and he hasn't popped. It's just his lifestyle and his way and his addiction to, marijuana and prescription medication and stuff like that. That, Chavez Jr. is essentially killing Chavez Jr. Whereas Jarrell Miller just needs that crutch. Even though he's a larger than life guy at 300 pounds, he obviously needs steroids to, step into the ring. And, without them, maybe he just feels smaller. And, they say they're addictive. When you don't have all that extra testosterone in your body, then you don't feel the same. So I think I think it's kind of two different scenarios, really. I would say you're better off kind of comparing Miller to someone like Povetkin. You know,
Right.
he's still fighting. He's still getting huge paydays, and he's fighting a huge fight and probably getting a very good payday on the Matchroom card with the Dillian White in
Right.
August?
Right.
You know, next month. So it's kind of, you're probably better comparing those two, but because obviously he popped in that big fight when he was supposed to fight Wilder.
Right. And Wilder was going to Russia for that fight too.
Mm.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy. I don't know, but I think that's a good point that Povetkin has popped. I think Povetkin popped multiple times too, right? Like, and he's still consistently getting pretty decent paydays and pretty big fights. He's getting one against Dillian White soon. I think it's going to be the finale of the Matchroom backyard fights or something like that, right?
Is that the AJ payday as well?
Yeah. So you're right. I think that's a great point that Povetkin is getting those opportunities. But I think the biggest difference with Povetkin, at least, is that Povetkin is foreign. Exactly. And most of his fights are overseas.
Yeah, it's not. He's not got the English or American media.
Right. You know, he doesn't get that type of scrutiny. Whereas Jarrell Miller is from Brooklyn, New York, I believe. He's a New Yorker. He's an American. So the media, especially the boxing media, essentially pretty much primarily the boxing media, they put a lot of attention on him over here. Especially when he was supposed to fight AJ in AJ's debut in the United States in Madison Square Garden. That put a lot of eyeballs on him. So you're right. I think Miller, for the next 3-4 years, nobody's going to touch him in America. At least in terms of the major promoters, I don't think so. But, you know, never, like you said, crazier things have happened. People still do business with other people. And if they can get Miller to sign up to fight one of their guys, because Miller's kind of technically a name in a sense, and are able to underpay him and kind of profit that rest of the money that he would have commanded initially, will that happen?
I would like to see whether they come out with that John Jones excuse where, you know, he tested positive because it's pulsing, you know, like it's still in his body because it's still, you know, technically in your fats, and when you're training it comes out. Right. And because, you know, that's what they've been using for John Jones over the last couple of fights when they had to move the fight from Las Vegas to LA when he fought Gustafsson for the second time. So it'd be interesting to see once they do the B sample and they actually make some kind of announcement what it is they come out with, or whether he just has tested for a high level of that GW15, 16 supplement, and he was just, you know, popping again. He was just, you know, risking it. So,
right. No, you're right. You're right. And before we kind of throw it to the Tommy Ward interview that you did earlier, just before this recording, Mike, let's quickly touch on Sergey Derevyanchenko has, you know, been reported to have offers to fight Charlo, the middleweight Charlo, and Canelo. Obviously, Derevyanchenko and Charlo are both advised by Al Heyman, so obviously that seems like it's more likely to happen. It's reportedly been said that Canelo wants to fight Derevyanchenko, or offered him a fight at 168, whereas Charlo would be at 160. What's your take on it, Mike?
I think we're more likely to see the Derevyanchenko-Charlo fight, and I think we'll see Canelo fight David Lemieux. I think Golden Boy have been trying to put that fight together for so long. It's a fight that will probably be cheaper, you know, because of, you know, they're going to lose, 10, 15 million in gate money. So I'm sure Lemieux will probably take a smaller purse.
You know what? I don't think so, though. I don't think so. I think Lemieux, like, He's been
struggling, though.
No, you're right. You're right. But I just think that Canelo, like, the mentality he has as a fighter, I think obviously he has power. He would tell Golden Boy, like, no, I'm not going to fight Lemieux. Like, we tried to make that fight already before multiple times and it didn't work. You know, I feel like Canelo, like, the criticism would get to him really bad. Even though this is a COVID era and, you know, you can kind of give them reasoning for doing certain decisions, I still think that the pride in himself as a prize fighter and as a top pound for pound fighter, I don't think he would do that. I think he would decline Lemieux. Like Lemieux would have to be like an ultimate last resort. That's my opinion, at least.
I mean, I hope you're right. I mean, I would love to see him fight. It's not looking like Billy Joe Saunders, so we're down to Callum Smith, Chris Eubank Jr. There seems to be the only real names. John Ryder seems to be trying to put himself in the picture frame.
I saw that. What the hell is that?
I don't know why we don't seem to have any stateside people that want to fight him at the minute. I just don't see the Derevyanchenko fight. I think you touched on. I think the PBC Derevyanchenko Charlo fight is one we'll probably see. And if we do, I think Derevyanchenko beats him. If Derevyanchenko comes in with a performance like he did against Triple G, where I thought he beat Triple G. If he comes in, fights anything like that, then I think Derevyanchenko wins on the night.
He beats Charlo?
Yeah. I think
so. Yeah. I agree with that. I think Derevyanchenko beats Charlo.
Charlo, I think, is a very...
I think it's a good fight. I think it's a good fight for both of them, especially for Charlo, because Derevyanchenko is a top contending middleweight at the moment.
He's a technician.
He's a great fighter.
Like his nickname, he can think on his feet. His punch selection is very, very good. He's always comes in looking fit. Charlo, I think, is a little bit more one-dimensional. I think he's had a lot of fights his own way. They've picked, certain styles to make Charlo look very good. I think it's a really good fight for Derevyanchenko. And I think if he comes in and gives it 60, 70% of a performance he did against Triple G, then I think he beats Charlo.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Derevyanchenko, from my view, would be the favorite against Charlo. But I don't think Charlo... I think for Charlo, it would also be a great step-up fight, especially because he has a world title. And it's a great fight to really show... I think that would bring the best out of Charlo against a Derevyanchenko. Like, if he beats a Derevyanchenko, depending on how he beats him, I think he should get a lot of credit, because I think that the Charlo brothers at the moment, they get a lot of flack right now.
It's a strange fight for PBC to make. That's very odd.
Why would it be strange when they're both PBC fighters? Obviously, Al Heyman would want, if he's going to send Derevyanchenko over to fight Canelo, obviously Al Heyman will get a piece of that payday, and Derevyanchenko's obviously got talent to possibly beat Canelo. Like, he's obviously a technician, but why wouldn't he try to at least make Charlo and Derevyanchenko first? Because they're both PBC, they keep all the profits, and then whoever wins between that then can fight a Canelo. I mean,
I think it's just odd in this. Not that PBC's fighting PBC, because that's what PBC like to do, but I would have said that just Derevyanchenko's he's a better fighter, but Charlo's probably a bigger star. And
yeah, of course.
I'd have thought that they would have tried to have protected him for as long as they can. And I don't know, maybe they're thinking the time's right to cash in on Charlo or something like that, because I stack the chips very, very far towards Derevyanchenko in that fight.
Well, I just think also because Charlo, he has a world title at 160. He has that WBC, even though he got it gifted because Canelo was elevated to franchise. And I just think that, regardless of the type of promoter you are, eventually you're going to have to put in, especially if you have a world champion at a certain division, you're going to have to put them in there with somebody who's going to give them a fight. You're going to have to. You're going to have to. Like whether it's the hype behind you, like a Ryan Garcia, or your popularity or the scrutiny you're getting, or you have a world title. You can't, you're going to have to put them in there against somebody competitive. I mean, I honestly thought a lot more people were going to take advantage of this whole world we're living in, and I get it. And it would kind of be justified, we need to, we don't want to do this fight because we need a live gate. I understand that, but I mean,
it seemed like they were trying to piece together Charlo Chris Eubank Jr.
I think that would be a pretty decent fight too.
I could see that one happening, and Like, who do you see? Who do you see winning if they do the Canelo Derevyanchenko at 168?
I think Canelo still beats him.
Do you think it's an easy one though? Because
no, I don't.
He's a technician. He's very skillful.
No. I don't think it's easy, but I still think Canelo beats him clearly. But I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park. Like, you know, I don't think Canelo's going to have a tougher time than Triple G did. He's still going to have a tough time fighting the guy. He's still going to hit trouble, but I think he's going to handle him a little bit more easily, using the word easily very loosely, than Triple G did, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because I personally thought that Derevyanchenko beat Triple G, and Triple G just got that victory because they were trying to, you know.
Well, I mean, remember the referee in that fight, like kind of jumping behind Triple G when Derevyanchenko got him with that body shot. I was like, where did that? I watched that. I watched that clip. I rewinded it like 10 times, and I was like, why did he jump there? I still can't think of a reason why the referee jumped behind Triple G when he got hit with that body shot, and it obviously hurt him. And he gave them those extra seconds to kind of like recoup. It's like, what? Like, I don't know. I mean, I get it. It's like, it's going back to our original conversation. The shady dealings behind the sport, within the sport.
Just whispered to him like in WWE, like, hey, stick to the story. Triple G's supposed to win this and then fight Canelo for the third one, so everyone gets paid.
Yeah, pretty much. But who knows, man? Who knows? But, you know, obviously, like we mentioned at the beginning of the show, Mike conducted his interview with Tommy Ward earlier today, just before we recorded this session of the Last Round podcast. And, you know, before we throw it into that interview, Mike, you want to tell the listeners what are some highlights of the interview?
I spoke to Tommy Ward, who's 29-0, British fighter, supposed to be hopefully fighting for the WBO title, which has been vacated by Navarrete. Supposed to be fighting Stephen Fulton. It's not been confirmed yet, but I think they're the number 1 and the number 2 or 3 in the division. We kind of briefly spoke about his amateur career. Spoke about him, you know, knowing Tyson Fury and Billy Joe Saunders, you know, from the traveling community at a young age, went into his pro career, went into his struggles trying to get on with a big promoter. And obviously he turned pro at 18. He's now 26 and having to wait, you know, 29 fights and 8 years to, you know, essentially get those big fights because he's not signed to someone like a Frank Warren or Matchroom. He spoke about how he actually wants to fight the monster Inoue. Spoke about the upcoming Stephen Fulton fight, what he knows about Stephen, traveling all over the world in the amateurs, traveling over here to fight last year, fighting also in Dubai. And then we kind of spoke about the upcoming Tyson Fury fight, the Billy Joe Saunders Canelo fight, and some other things. But like I kind of said earlier, we got cut off around the 25 minutes mark. So apart from that, the sound isn't too bad. In and out a little bit because he was using his cell phone, but I think 95% of it you can hear okay. Cool.
Sounds like you guys touched on quite a bit of stuff in the sport and its dealings and all that stuff. So it should be interesting. And then, as again, you know, we apologize for some of the audio quality, but it seems like from what you said, Mike, a good 95% of it is pretty decent and it should work out. So, but once again, guys, here is our interview, actually Mike's interview, with Tommy Ward.
And now it's time for the last round interview of the week.
$29-0, Thomas Patrick Ward, another UK guest. How's things back in the UK, Tommy?
Everything's okay. It's still bright and sunny. You know, it's 9 o'clock at night, so you know things. Family's all fit, well, and healthy. So you know, can't really complain.
How's training been during the quarantine?
It's been different. You know, obviously not usually doing your normal routines such, but you know, we've still been getting the work in, still been keeping fit, and obviously the gyms is hopefully open back up now. So, you know, been back in doing what I do best.
I saw you managed to do a charity walk for the National Health Service. I think was it a 10-hour walk?
Yeah, 10.5-hour walk. We walked 30 miles, the NHS and the local community, so we raised some funds and stuff for them. And also done I also done a 20-mile run as well for the RVI in Newcastle, another hospital, for Layla, a little girl who's was born with a brain tumour. She's 8 now, or 9, and she's had like 10 operations, stuff like that there. So, and obviously the ward, she's all clear now, thankfully. But they raised money for the ward where she lived there. She lived most of the time really in there. So, just trying to do my little bit for the community, while obviously there's no boxing on, and trying to raise funds and stuff like that there, just for everyone. Just like I said, if there's a little bit, if it helps somebody just a little bit, you've done your part. So, I'm happy just to help and get involved.
That's good to see. So, Tommy, you started boxing pretty young. You followed your brother Martin into the Berkeley Boxing Club at like 5 years old. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. I'll be obviously me man put Martin into boxing. He started off in Sherburn, and then that gym ended up getting closed down. It's just a community centre really, got closed down, and went to Berkeley, where we met Graham Rutherford, and started training with him. And like I said, I was about 5 at the time. Didn't really know much, but I loved fighting. So I got involved in that, and I was with Graham till I turned pro at like 17.5. So now I'm under Neil Fannin now. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It was brilliant. Boxing is so since the age of 5, I fell in love with it and still am. So I'm blessed to be doing a job that I get paid and I love to do. So it's a win-win.
You had a pretty successful amateur career, winning 2 ABA titles, European Championships over in the Ukraine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I won I don't know exactly how many, but I won plenty of amateur titles. I had 64 amateur fights, won 60. The last time I got beat, I think it was about 14 or something like that. So quite a bit of time ago. So I had a really good amateur career, but I come to the point in my career where it was stay amateur, do the senior ABAs, or turn pro and go in the pro ranks and get paid. And at the time I wanted to be pro. I wanted to go pro, and obviously my dream has always been winning world titles and fighting for world titles and stuff like that. So, I made the decision to turn pro. At the same point, my brother Martin, who I followed to Berkeley, he was with Neil Fannin over in Hartlepool, and I went over, started training with Neil, enjoyed it. Me and him got on very well together. He's a very, very good friend of mine now, really, and he's taught me a lot of life lessons along with boxing lessons, and he's fantastic. So me and him just clicked straight away. And I said, yeah, I'm just going to go pro, and at the time, Neil didn't want me to go pro. Neil was like, I think you should stay amateur another couple of years, mature a little bit and get a little bit, because, if you see a picture of me when I was 18, I looked at about 12, so, he wanted me to hold back a little bit, but, I was keen, I was ready, I was wanting to go, I just wanted to move through the pro ranks and start fighting for world titles.
Do you kind of miss the pro ranks a little bit? Because obviously when you turn pro, it kind of turns more of a business. Where when you're amateur, you don't have to worry about the pay. You don't have to worry about anything. It's just the enjoyment of the sport.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, when it's like that, yeah, because when you're amateur, it's just strictly boxing. There's no like, who am I fighting when I'm in a match? It's just you're fighting Saturday night. And he's like, okay, whatever weight you had to be, you were there Saturday night, you got weighed in, and then you just boxed. So on that behalf of it, yeah, you do miss it. But on the pro side of things, obviously everything's a bit more complicated. It's all about money and opponents and where you're fighting at. I don't want to fight there, I want to fight here, and it's just a lot of. But to be honest, I'm thankful I got a really good team around me, and I've always had with Neil. I told Neil from the start, you tell me when to fight, who I fight, I don't care. I said I'm willing to fight any for my pro debut. I was willing to fight anybody, but Neil was like, no, I know the road you have to go. This is what we got to do. Like steps up the ladders. And, just follow them. And to be honest, Neil, tell you yourself, everything's been pretty much smooth sailing with us. I've listened to him. I've never questioned his judgment. And, I believe in him. And I believe I've got the ability to be a world champion and fight the best. And, just as long as I just listen to him and, I'll get there. So, things have been going really, really well with us. And now we've got MTK backing us, a fantastic team, unbelievable to be honest. Kind of wish they were there a little bit earlier. But we're here now. Like I said, we've got all the teams all together. Everyone's happy. So all them big fights are going to come. Always knew they would, but we're on the horizon now.
You turned pro, obviously, fairly young at 18, and you had a successful amateur career. Did you have many of the big promoters sniffing around you? Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn at that time.
When I first turned pro, no, not really, but I didn't really know for myself like how to approach them or anything like that, so I just never. And obviously, when I turned pro with Neil, my manager Dave Garside, who's still with me now as well, who helps like with MTK and that, he's still involved. He said like, don't worry about it. Talking, I was like, I didn't really know nobody. I'm turning pro, so I can't really sell tickets. But like, I believe in myself. I'm a good fighter. And he believed in me. He come watch me a couple of times, spar and train, and he started putting the money in, and he all paid out in the end. And he does that. Probably maybe would have had to get a job and do different bits of bobs and not concentrate fully on my career. And so he allowed me to do that. So it was very, very good of him. I'm very grateful for it.
Did you ever reach out to Tyson Fury and Billy Joe? Because I know that you're kind of friends with them, doing the research. You grew up with them in the traveling community.
Yeah, we know each other well. Obviously, Billy Joe was out doing me fighting out in Dubai, and I've met Tyson a good few times, like at shows and obviously at home and stuff like that there. So we get along out really well. I know them a long time, so they're good lads. But yeah, we all get along really well with each other anyway. So we all kind of knew each other anyway. So it was all right.
Do you think that your world title shot would have come around earlier if you'd have been with a bigger promoter?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe if I had a big promoter on from the early stages, probably would have got a world title sooner. But on the other hand, it might have worked out for the better because I've had 29 fights now. I've had a lot of experience. I've been fought all over the place. So, a couple of different things like that, I believe everything happens for a reason. And I think, when my time does come for the world title shot, I believe I'll win it. And I believe then it'll all fall into place the way it should. So, I think, like I said, I think everything happens for a reason. So it probably all worked out for the best.
You had a big breakout performance last year fighting in the Kansas Star Arena in Kansas. How was that traveling over here to the US? Obviously, it's kind of every boxer's dream to come out to the US to fight. Yeah,
fantastic. I mean, I got a phone call off Facebook of Hernandez's manager. Obviously, Dimitri Salitas promoted the show, but off his manager, I forget the guy's name, but he just rang me. He's like, do you fancy a fight with my guy Jesse Hernandez? And we started talking about the fight, and they said like it's going to be in America, and I was just like, is this for real? Anyway, it was like, I said like, if you want the fight, I said, I'm happy to fight. I don't mind. I said, I'll go anywhere and fight anybody. I said, but you need to speak to my team. So I passed them on to my trainer, Neil. And, it was a week later, Neil rang me and went like, oh, that fight's on. You're fighting in America. We didn't even know exactly it was going to be in Kansas because it was supposed to be in New York and then it got changed and whatever. But we knew it was in America in February. So, we trained for it and it was fantastic. I mean, we get over to New York. We had 12 days over there. And then we went from there to Kansas, which was an experience on its own. I mean, it's in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing about. There was one hotel, and it's just, there's nothing around it. But, the full experience, the training in the American gyms, and just out there, I loved everything about it. I loved it all. It was all a fantastic experience. It was great with the team, and obviously we fought. We put on a really good performance, which I knew we had to. We had to go over there and really, really show who we was. And I believe that. Well, the performance it did actually caught everybody's eye, really. So, and that was what I was kind of hoping on, and it did. So, but I knew I was well capable of that. I mean, I don't know how some people thought he was going to be the favourite. He had 13 fights or so. I think at the time I had about 25, and I knew I had a good amateur career. I thought I could beat some good pros. So, I knew if I turned up right in my game, I'd give him the lesson, and I did. But hopefully, we can get back over there soon again, and we'll do some more.
I bet they regret reaching out to you now.
I bet so, yeah.
You also went over to MTK show in Dubai. How was fighting in Dubai?
Fantastic experience. Went to Dubai. Heard many different stories about Dubai. Some was good, some was bad. But I mean, I thought it was beautiful. It was a beautiful place. The people was unbelievable, friendly. The gyms was fantastic. City was brilliant. And then again, just the experience of having my whole team out there and then bringing the family across and fighting. It was just amazing, you know. Like I said, I'm so grateful. Like I'm doing a job I love, and I'm traveling the world, and you know, fighting, which I love to do. So it's all been a fantastic experience. And like I said, hopefully I'll get a few more of them. Like I do like fighting at home. Newcastle's my home, but you know, I don't mind the travel. The travel there is all good experience, you know, and I don't mind going to the back gardens and giving a few people a lesson. So. You know, wherever the call comes, I'm happy to go anywhere.
Is that just due to your amateur experience? Obviously, fighting all over the world, are you just used to traveling?
Yeah, well, I mean, to me, a ring's a ring. You know, you've got a referee, you've got 3 judges who's all there to, like, obviously judge the fight and referee you. So, you know, it doesn't matter where it's at. It could be anywhere. So, I mean, it's only you and him fighting there at the end of the day. So, and you've got, like I said, you've got a referee and 3 judges. So the fight could be anywhere at all. It wouldn't make a difference to me.
With it, looks like Navarrete is stepping up in weight and vacating the WBO title. It's looking like it should be you against Stephen Fulton for the WBO. What do you know about Stephen Fulton?
Nothing much, you know, really. I know he's a good fighter. He's undefeated, and but I haven't really watched him, to be fair. You know, I know that he obviously was there in the rankings, and he won a good fight out last and that. But you know, at that kind of level, they're all good fighters. So, you know, it's hard to say, oh, well, he's no good and this and that. You're not going to get nobody like that. So you're always going to be in for a tough night. You're always going to be in for a good fight. So, you know, just pray. But I do believe in my ability, and I can beat anybody. So, you know, hopefully that fight can happen and we can come to a deal. Like I said, if he wants to come over here, I'll go over there. I don't mind. I'm sure if I go over there, I'll be bringing a big crowd with me anyhow. So it'll be like home. But, yeah, so hopefully we can get together and get the fight on. And like I said, he is a good fighter. What I know of him, I don't know much, but what I know of him, he's a good fighter. So I'm sure it'll be an interesting fight.
Has anybody from the WBO or anyone reached out yet at all about the fight?
You know what it is? You know, when it comes to fighting and stuff like that, there, I know it's Fulton who will be fighting for the title, but on the management side of things, I leave that all to my team. I think it's less stressful. You know, I just concentrate and do what I got to do. Leave them deal with it all, and then they'll tell me like, oh, the fight's nearly made. The fight's made. So you know, I'm just happy with that. I have trust in them, and they do their job, and I do mine. You know, they get me the fights, and I'll win. So we got a good connection there.
I read in a previous interview that you said you'd actually like to fight the monster Inoue.
Yes, I definitely would.
What do you see in that fight? You just see something where you just think you can beat him, or you just want to fight because everyone doesn't want to fight him?
Well, for one, nobody wants to fight him. But two, like I said, I do believe I'll beat anybody. Inoue's a great fighter, fantastic fighter. You know, he can punch, he can box. He's got he's very, very good. Anybody who watches him, you say, you know, he's a good fighter. And I've watched him, and he is a good fighter. But why would you not want to fight somebody like that? You know, I don't get it. I'm 29-0. If that fight come, I take it up now. People say, oh, well, you got a chance of losing your unbeaten record or whatever. I don't believe so. I believe I'll beat Inoue. But why wouldn't you want to fight somebody who nobody thinks you can win? So, you know, to me, that's a good challenge. It's a challenge I like to have. If the phone call come, I'd love that fight. But obviously, I know he'd probably be doing different things with whatever's going on with him. He's massive at the minute. You know, he's a big star in the name. But why not take on them type of challenges? Them the type of challenges that I'm in boxing for. I'm not in boxing just to beat people who you think you can beat. I'm in challenges to challenge myself. I think I'll beat Inoue, but I know that would be a very good fight and it'd be a very good challenge. And if you wasn't up to your game, you would get beat. So you need to be 100%. And them's the kind of fights that I want to be in. People like that there. You know, why wouldn't you take on the challenges? That's what I've come into boxing for.
If you get the WBO shot against Stephen Fulton, I mean, taking them back to the Northeast would be would be a dream for you. Obviously, you know, and then obviously the Northeast thriving at the minute. You've got Lewis Ritson, Joseph Laws, Josh Kelly, your brother Martin. It's probably the strongest the Northeast boxing's ever been.
Definitely, bar none. I mean, Northeast boxing at the minute is absolutely booming. Like you said, all them names there. You know, we're selling out the Newcastle Arena at the minute. You know, with Lewis, myself, and the other boys on. You know, so anybody who comes there, it's going to be a sellout arena. The atmosphere is absolutely unbelievable in there. It's one of the. It probably is the best place you would ever box on for the atmosphere. So yeah, if we go and win the world title off Fulton, you know, maybe we're bringing Newey over here if he fancies it. You know, who knows? That would be brilliant.
I read in an interview you were also talking about eventually stepping up to featherweight.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that would be something after, you know, hopefully winning the world title and you know, competing there. So, but yeah, definitely. I mean, like again, it's new challenges. There's new fighters there. There's different fighters there. So, definitely the featherweight division is somewhere that I would like to go, and hopefully even further, even the super featherweight division. You know, I've got big ambitions, and obviously you can only take one at a time. But you know, why shoot for the moon? You need to shoot for the stars. You know what I mean? If you miss, you end up in space. So, you know, be happy.
With the lockdown period, and you know, the WBC and quite a few of the other sanctioning bodies have said that, you know, they're not doing much testing, if any testing at all. And with Jarrell Miller testing positive, as a boxer, how does that make you feel?
You know, with them, obviously, like I said, people testing positive and that. I don't get it. I don't get why. I mean, you're fighting. You've got a chance to take somebody's. Sorry, 1 second. You got a chance to take somebody's life. You know, it's not you know, it's not a game. You're serious. You're in there. You're fighting. You know, and anybody who's on illegal such supplements, and you know, they do damage to somebody. They can put them in a coma. They could give them bleeding on the brain. You know, they can take a life. It's murder. You know, so if you go and shoot somebody, you're murdering somebody. So anybody who gets caught with doing stuff like that, listen, there's a lot of politics in it. So like stuff can happen, and you know, you say, oh well, I took the wrong thing. I didn't know, and whatever. But if you take an illegal substance and you know that you shouldn't be taking it, you're thinking that, oh, I'll be out my system time I fight, and you fight and you injure somebody, you could disable them, like I said, bleeding on the brains, you could even kill them. You know, how would that make you feel for the fight? You know, that's you done, and you should be consequences for your actions of doing stuff like that. There, I think it's absolutely terrible. I think, you know, you're a fighter, you eat right, you train right. You know, you do need supplements to, you know, recover your body and kind of stuff like that there, but any like enhanced stuff that you be taking, stuff like that, I just don't think you should. You know, I think you just stop all that there. You know, just play the game fair. You know, and give it the proper roll of the dice.
Can you remember how many times out of your 29 professional fights you've been tested?
Oh, I can't remember exactly how many, but I've been tested. Yeah, I've been tested quite a lot, and obviously I've always come up clean. Like I said, I live a good life, diet right, and you know, I don't take now I shouldn't take. And anybody who's offering me stuff, I always say, like, is a sport approved? Can I have a look at it? And you know, you got to read through what's in whatever you're going to be taking. So you know, and if something comes up that you're not supposed to take, and they say, oh no, it's okay to take, you say, well, I can't, because you get a list of stuff you can take. You know, all the supplements that's in. So, you know, you score off that, it won't show. Just don't take it. You know, just take the stuff that you should take, and it's, you know, you keep yourself right. So, you know, I think it's like I said, listen, you're playing with people's lives, so you know, just do it properly. You know, I wouldn't like that on my mind if I took something that I shouldn't have took, and then I've injured somebody permanently for life. You know, that would be terrible. You know, something on your mind like that'd be, but knowing you've done it, it's just wrong, very wrong.
If the WBO title shot comes around during lockdown, you don't mind fighting behind closed doors?
No, obviously you've got to fight. If the fight comes up, you've got to fight. But obviously it is better with the crowd there. You know, the crowd gets behind it. They do make the night. You need crowd with boxing. But obviously, if the show can go ahead without the crowd, and everything's running smoothly, yes, I'd still fight, yeah. But it would be better with the crowd, obviously.
A friend of yours, Billy Joe Saunders, do you think he'll eventually get the Canelo fight?
I think so. I mean, Billy Joe Saunders is two-weight world champion level. Obviously, so does Canelo. Canelo's... Are we there?
Yeah.
Are we there? Yeah. So Canelo obviously is a star at the minute. He's the number one at the minute. But Billy Joe brings a lot to the table. But even speaking to Billy Joe, it's a fantastic fight. It's fantastic money. It's a mega fight. But Billy Joe's there for one reason only, and it's a win. It's not about money. It's not about where it's going to be at. Nothing. It's just about winning and beating Canelo. And he has the ability to beat Canelo. Billy Joe's very tricky, slick southpaw, fast, good movement, hard to hit. He struggled a lot with Lara, Canelo did. When he was on his feet moving, he struggled a lot. Yes, he got inside and done work to the body, but he maybe nicked the fight. But I mean, I think Billy Joe can give him all the problems in the world. But again, the one thing on his mind, it's not the money, it's not the fight, it's just beating Canelo. And so he needs to be right for the fight. And I believe if he does, he's got a good chance of winning the fight.
Another friend of yours, Tyson Fury, eventually should hopefully be fighting Anthony Joshua. How do you see that one going?
Obviously he's fighting Wilder next. Obviously the last time out he bashed Wilder up. But not two fights is never the same, I don't think. So, you got to be expecting something different there. But Tyson's the best heavyweight, I think, bar none. I think he'll come through the Wilder fight, and I think he'll outbox Joshua for 12 rounds. He might even get him on later on, because Joshua's good for the first 6, then he dips. I don't know. I think he might be too muscle bound or whatever. He seems to dip for a couple of rounds, and then he comes on strong again. But I think with Tyson, he's another good mover for a heavyweight. Slick, hard to hit. He's so big. He's big and tall. Got the long reach. I think they'll just catch AJ, keep catching him, tagging him, and dancing about and that, and frustrating him, and maybe even get him later on.
Yeah, I agree. Another fighter from the travelling community, Dennis Mccann. Do you know Dennis?
Yeah, I met Dennis when I boxed in Brentwood after me fighting America, Kansas. Yeah, lovely lad. Obviously coming through the pro ranks, looking really good.
What do you think of him for the future? He seems like a huge prospect. He seems to have, everybody's comparing him to Prince Nazim because of his style.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you can see the Nazim sort of kind of style in him, with his wide stance and his footwork, and obviously the certain shots he throws and that there. But again, a promising prospect, looking really well at the minute, training hard. I think he'll do really well. Yeah, I think he'll do really well as long as he keeps doing what he's doing, training hard, keep the fights coming. Obviously, as he steps up, he won't be blasting out people as easy. But I think he's got good potential there, definitely.
Going back to your division, you've got Ray Vargas is obviously the WBC champion. You've got Ronnie Rios and also Brandon Figueroa is the WBA. Are they matchups obviously you'd like to take in the future?
Definitely. Obviously, like I said, the world title WBO is vacant now. Close to being hopefully getting made between me and Fulton, so that can happen. If that happens, win that, I would love to fight any of them champions for unification, without doubt. Like I said, listen, me and my team's easy to work with. So any one of them fighters would be brilliant. If the WBO doesn't happen, if one of them fighters want to fight, I'm always available. Pick up the phone, give us a call, we'll work something out. It wouldn't be an issue. Again, all great champions, all good fighters, but all fights I want to have. Them's the kind of fights you want to be involved in, them the kinds of fight you want to have. So, them's the ones I'll be looking at. I won't be looking at nobody else. My main focus is on all them guys at the minute.
Tommy, where do you see yourself hopefully in the next 5 years?
Oh, a good question there. I do believe I'll be a world champion at super bantamweight, featherweight, and then possibly even super featherweight for the next 5 years. I definitely think I'll be super bantamweight and featherweight. You know, like I said, I'd be going out to super featherweight. I just want to keep on fighting the best fights out there, the best fighters out there, and keep testing yourself, keep moving up. You know what I mean? You know, I'm unbeaten at the minute, and you know, I want the best, biggest fights out there. You know, so them's the kinds of, like I said, them's the kinds of guys I'm looking at. I'm not looking past nobody at the minute. Obviously, hopefully get Fulton, and then we've got a lot of good guys at the super bantamweight division. There's a lot of good guys at the super featherweight division. So you know, I've got a lot on my hands really, but you know, we'll take each challenge as it comes. You know, like I said, even the monster, you know, depending on what he's doing at the bantamweight, if he's moving up the, you know, if I win a world title at super bantamweight and he's moving up, you know, if the fights there can be made, he's a great fighter. I'd love to fight him. You know, so we'll just see how it goes. You know, just keep on going and just take one step at a time.
I saw on your social media you'd been sparring with Jordan Gill.
Yeah.
What did you think of him? He seems like a rising prospect.
Yeah, and trained under Dave Caldwell. You know, nice fella. Good fighter as well. Like you said, a rising prospect. You know, I think he'll do well as well. Obviously, he had a bit of a bump in the road. His last time out, he might have had a win since then.
Yeah.
But yeah, had a bit of a bump in the road there. But I think you know, that happens in boxing. I mean, stuff like that can happen. You have a bad night or something might have went wrong. I don't know, but you know, he's better than that. So I know that he'll come back and he'll do really well. He's fighting Bellotti, I think, next. You know,
big fight.
Big fight. I think I favour Gill for it. But again, it'll be a good fight. So I think he'll do really well.
So at this point is where we lost Mr. Tommy Ward, but you know, we'd like to thank Tommy for jumping on this week on the last round, episode 87. Thanks to Mike for conducting that without me. But as we said, we did have some audio difficulties with this interview, and you know, it looks like his connection might have got cut off right here towards the end. But once again, you know, we appreciate you guys listening, especially if you listen to the whole show. We appreciate it. You know, we hope you enjoyed the topics we discussed today, and then obviously the topics that Mike discussed with Tommy Ward. You know, obviously you can follow the show on Twitter, on Instagram at the Last Round 12, THE Last Round 12. I should have spelled it all out, but I didn't. I just got lazy right in the middle of spelling. But once again, thank you very much for listening. Whether you've been listening since the beginning, when we started about coming up on 2 years ago, or you're a brand new listener, we appreciate it. And then if you want to know how we've been recording these podcasts in this quarantine time, we've been using a platform called StreamYard, StreamYard.com. They have a free version and they also have a paid version. It's very cool. You can just send your guests a link. They don't have to download any type of software like Skype and anything like that. They just click the link and it takes them to the actual interview, and you can see them on each screen. It's very convenient. And then you can, depending on if you have a paid version or not, you can download the audio for your podcast, download the video for your YouTube channel. It's a very convenient software program to have. So that's what we've been using. If you do want to check it out, we do have an affiliate link that's listed below in the description of our podcast here, whether it's on YouTube or on Audio Boom, Spotify, Stitcher, all these different spots. And it does kick us back some type of credit for our account as well. As you guys know, Mike and I, we don't, we're not sponsored by anybody. We don't get paid for this. So if you want to support, that'd be great if you can check that out. But once again, thank you to Tommy Ward for jumping on this week with Mike on the Last Round, episode 87. And once again, I'm Danny Z. For my co-host, Michael Shepard, who's not here at the moment, this is the Last Round.
Thanks for supporting and listening to the show. Follow us at The Last Round 12 on social media. Rate, review, and subscribe. This is the Last Round Podcast.